Beautiful. Thank you, Diana. May I walk in peace. Wow. Yes, may we all walk in peace. And hello again, Reverend Suzanne here. I'm grateful to know that you are watching, and this is being recorded. So if you're not able to catch it right now, we're getting some information from Facebook, but I'm going to just keep going. This month's theme, the month of May, for Centers for Spiritual Living is Listen to Your Heart. Listen to your heart. And my talk today is entitled Your Sacred Calling, the great work of your life, your dance. We all have an inner dance, whether you believe it or not. We all have a calling. Have you ever been invited onto a dance floor and you kind of were like, oh no, no thank you. I have 2 left feet, I'm not rhythmic, I'm embarrassed, I can't do it. Well, you know, life is a dance, I believe. Life has its twirls ups and its drops down. It has its dips and its steadiness. And when we learn to move and dance with life and flow, things can become a little bit maybe easier. And we also have the most amazing dance partner that I'll talk about later. I'll tell you about that later. So I'd like to ask you a couple questions. First of all, do you believe there's a unique calling for your life? A unique purpose? And did you know that there's a divine spark within you that fully wants to be expressed as you? The founder of Science of Mind, Dr. Ernest Holmes, says, the insistent and universal desire for self-expression is the divine urge within us, even God himself, tapping at the wall of our heart, urging us onto a fuller life. We each have come into being so that that divine spark, that fire, that creativity, that impulse may be consciously expressed. And we, each of us, me and you, are uniquely poised to express our special gift, talent, strength, that only we can. It's the call of life itself. It's the dance of life itself, seeking to express itself in a new way, through you, as you. So get out on that dance floor. What is calling you in your life right now? What is calling you? What would you love? Think about that. What would you love? And I always tell my clients, we don't have to know how to make something happen. We have to make it welcome. We have to make it welcome. The Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung said, your visions will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. So I have a beautiful rose today from our property, and I would like you to consider how a rose seed blossoms into a rose. I believe we can all agree that it doesn't need to struggle or strive to become what it inherently already is, because everything that a rose seed needs to become a rose is already within it. Given the right soil, a little water, some sunlight, its natural beauty will inevitably emerge. The seed of a rose. And just like the rose seed, there's something unique within you, within each of you. A calling, a purpose, a dance, a vision of what your life wants to be, what it wants to emerge as. And maybe you're already doing it. Bravo. It's interesting to note that in floral shops, the roses that won't open, that closed tight, are called bullets. And they are discarded. They're thrown out because they will never bloom. They have turned in on themselves so tightly that they cannot release their fragrance. Oh, think about that. Are we so tightly wound that we don't bloom? We always are at choice. And I believe it takes a conscious awareness, a breath, to connect us to that true center of ourselves that allows us to flower and blossom in our own perfect, unique way. So are you willing to live life from a place of pure inspiration and allow your greatest life to emerge through you? Yeah. And it doesn't matter your age, your education, your background, your employment or unemployment, you're retired. What's calling you? What's calling you? Dr. Michael Beckwith says, we always begin with principle, and the principle is you are one with the power, the presence, and the love of God. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing missing in you. You came with everything, loaded and coded. You came with everything, and you have come to participate with it so that you can set it free as your life, your unfolding destiny. Yeah. So I invite you to imagine you're in our sanctuary, or maybe if you're with other people, turn to the person next to you and introduce yourself, your name, and introduce yourself as a genius. Ready? Go. Hi, I'm Reverend Suzanne. I'm a genius. Good, did you do it? And just notice, did that feel uncomfortable? Did it feel silly? Did it feel like, what? So we're gonna try it again. You get a take two. Take a breath. You're gonna look someone in the eye. I'm gonna look you in the eye and introduce yourself as a genius. Begin. Hi, I'm Reverend Suzanne, and I'm a genius. Who are you? I love that. That's a Dr. Joe Dispenza special. And when I learned that, he recommended that you start every day that way, claiming that genius within you. And so when I do my prayer work in the morning, I stand up, I open my arms wide, and I say, what creative genius will I be today? How can I serve? And when I do that, it opens up to a possibility of something greater that I have no idea about. So I invite you to claim that genius, which we're going to talk about in a little while. So, geniuses, how many of you actually believe in the idea that the way you think has an effect on your life? Isn't that what we teach here? Change your thinking, change your life. So, if you believe that, did you wake up this morning and consciously create a future? Your future. Oh, I could have done that, couldn't I? To change, to truly change, we have to think greater than our circumstance and situation, right? We have to rise above in consciousness to a greater vision of what's possible. And every wise person in history knew this. And neuroscience says it's possible to think and feel so much about your future in an elevated way that your brain will change to look like the future event has already happened. Woo! So can we hold the vision of a solution to what we're experiencing in our world right now? Consciousness creates. Hold the vision of a greater solution than we even can imagine. What if we all did that? So we can answer the call, our own calling from within, but we have to be willing to do something. We have to be willing to move out of our comfort zone. Have you ever heard of the comfort zone? Oh yeah, it's so comfortable. And there's nothing wrong with the comfort zone. It's not bad. But the results that we have in our life will be reflected from who we think we are or what we think we can accomplish. That's the way the law works. If we think we're really good at something or we think we're not good at something, the law will reflect that. So the comfort zone creates kind of a boundary or a limit. But outside of our comfort zone, I want you to imagine that there's a doorway. And that doorway says, possibility. What is possible? So if we stay in our comfort zone all the time, we're never going to get to that place. It doesn't uncover our sacred work, our calling, our uniqueness if we stay there. So are you currently doing what you love and loving what you're doing? Think about that. Are you currently doing what you love and loving what you're doing? And if not, why? Take a breath. Take a breath. What would you love? What would you love? What do you need to release to get there? Fear, judgment, I'm not good enough. Who am I to do this? And what do you need to embrace? Yeah. Ernest Holmes said also, you need not ask what others have done or how they have done it. Be yourself and express life as you find it. Never imitate. Trust the self and find the self in God and God in the self. It takes a leap of faith, doesn't it, to move out of our comfort zone? Well, there happens to be a book called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. And in this book, he talks about these different zones of competence. And he goes to the zone of genius, which we talked about earlier. And he talks about how we have to move out of our comfort zone to claim the zone of genius, which is your unique power. It's a one-of-a-kind quality that only you bring to your life and to your work and lets you do certain things better than almost anybody else. It's using your full potential as you were designed to be. And what if we already carry, each of us already carry the genius gene within us, and we just haven't set it free? So in this book, The Big Leap, there are 4 zones of expression. Number 1, the zone of incompetence, where he says there are activities that you're not really good at. Most people do it better. The second zone is the zone of competence, where your activities that you do, you're competent at, but others can do them just as well or maybe even better. The third zone is the zone of excellence. Those are activities you do extremely well and you might make a good living at. You're highly skilled at it, and not many people do it better, he says. And this zone can be very seductive. It's easy to stay in there. But then he says, if you can rise a little bit above that to the zone of genius, those are a set of activities that are uniquely suited to you. Again, nobody does it quite like you. Time feels different. You're engaged, you're fulfilled. You lose all sense of comparison or separation and effort. This zone of genius liberates and expresses your divine genius. Wow. How exciting is that? And I do believe that within each of us there is that divine urge, that sacred calling, that dance that wants to come out in a bigger, better way. So what if you committed to uncovering your zone of genius and taking a leap of faith out of your comfort zone? What would that feel like? What would that look like? And if that's scary, if that's uncomfortable, if that's frightening, I invite you to work with a practitioner or a coach, a life coach. That's why I love being a life coach and a spiritual counselor. I support people all the time, moving from what is to what's possible. To move those seeds of doubt and fear. Just like the rose seed blossoms, well, we want to get rid of those seeds that aren't going to help you blossom. And then you move from a question mark to an exclamation point in your life. And I absolutely love seeing the transformation in my clients. And I know that my minister's heart and my minister's consciousness is the backbone and the spirit of everything I do. That's my genius. And I'm so grateful for it that I've learned to claim it and not be afraid of it. So as I mentioned earlier, I've been working with this book, Entering the Castle, from St. Teresa of Avila. Carolyn Myss talks about this very thing, about opening to our light. And I'm going to share some things with you. She says, all mystics discovered profound inner resources of the soul as they grew in their trust of God. Yet people fear their lives will change if they really follow their passions. Soul passions are a powerful grace. Knowing that you have such a force within you begs the question, how can you not release your light? How can you not release your light? She goes on to say, the capacity to see goodness in another person reflects a light in your soul, as does the capacity to be compassionate, generous, understanding, and gentle. What light do you hold in your soul? Your particular light, she says, is your charisma. And a charisma is a type of grace unique to every person that embodies his or her spiritual essence. Name your light. What is the essence of the grace that is you? Take a breath. Your charisma directs your life path, so you need to know what it is. Life moves through passages that can be confusing and difficult and painful, or outrageously abundant, lavish, and happy. It's that dance. You can lose yourself to achieving abundance as easily as you can to starvation. You can rely on your charisma, your essential self, to guide you, however. You know when you have compromised yourself just a bit too much and when you're not the real you. Follow your light, your charisma, and you will inevitably find your soul. Yes, follow our light, follow our sacred calling. And we are all needed in times such as these, I believe. In times such as these, we are all needed. So she goes on to talk about a real story of a woman named Karen and how Karen turned her ordinary skill into a cosmic one. She was a former nurse, Karen, who loved to sing but did not have a very beautiful voice. She was at the hospital visiting her daughter, who had just given birth to her first grandchild, when she was quite taken by a desire to walk around the hospital floor and check out the other babies. She came upon a very young woman by herself with her newborn, obviously terrified of being a new mom. The woman was panicking because she could not calm her infant and was convincing herself that her baby was not bonding to her. Karen walked into the room and asked if she could help. Immediately, the young mother turned over her infant to her, saying, "He won't stop crying. He hates me." "Oh, he doesn't hate you," said Karen. "He's just trying to get his bearings. He just got here. This is a big world to get used to," she told her, while she, Karen, a well-seasoned mother-turned-grandmother, began to rock the baby and sing a lullaby. The baby relaxed into the soothing rhythm of her voice and gentle rocking. Does the singing work? Asked the young mother. Oh, I guess it must, Karen laughed. But something about that experience stayed with Karen, and months later she came back to the hospital to check out the nursery again and to see if the head nurse needed any new nurses to work with the newborns. Well, by coincidence, this hospital was desperate for nurses. She started the next week in the nursery, holding emergency care infants and singing to them. Karen told the story. I realized as soon as I walked into that nursery that I was called by God to be there, and that I was meant to use my voice to channel grace into these newborns. They find my voice soothing and healing and perhaps grounding. Karen received God in her way and in God's way. She was not looking for an experience of God. God came calling for her. At one time, she'd had fantasies about a singing career, but when the time was right, her very ordinary voice became a channel for some very extraordinary cosmic grace. What a beautiful story. What is in you that's waiting to come out that you may think is something very simple? A few years ago, a friend gave me this message from a very famous author known as Anonymous. So I can't say who turned me on to this, but it was anonymous. And it is the word guidance. And if you look at the word, you see the word dance at the end. God, you and I, dance. That's what this person found. And when I saw that, I was inspired. You know, when two people try to lead a dance, it's pretty awkward, right? You're falling over each other, it feels jerky, it's not in the flow. But when one person takes the lead, they give the partner a gentle nudge, maybe to the back, or they tip them in the right direction, lean in the right direction, and the dance goes very smoothly. What would it feel like to have the divine as your partner, your dance partner? And that we move in unison with the divine, with God, in this dance. And it takes a willingness and a surrender, I believe. Trusting and having faith, taking that leap. God, you and I, dance. So let's affirm today. Repeat after me if you'd like. Today I answer the call to discover, liberate, and express my divine genius. Again, today I answer the call to liberate and express and discover my divine genius. Yes. So I'll close my talk today with a beautiful poem by Ernest Holmes. And Ernest Holmes was quite a mystic himself. And in the Science of Mind textbook, it can be very heady and intellectual, but there's parts of it that are so poetic and beautiful. It's a beautiful balance. His creative genius, very obvious. And this was in the original 1926 edition of the Science of Mind textbook. And it's called The Call. This I saw, or something greater. I'm going to start again. This I saw, or else some greater presence made it known to thee. The universe is filled with life, the earth, the sky, the sea, and teemed with intelligence, with majesty and might. Deep within me some subtle inner sight beholds and sees, comprehends and knows the all, no fears, no falters, but answers the divine call. To be as one beyond the bonds of time and space, to overcome the bondage of human race, and to leap with trust undaunted and free, into the depths of that infinite sea, whose waters, calm, are ready to receive those who in simple faith believe. Oh, I love that poem. Maybe I'll put that on our website.